Welcome back, everybody, to the Deep Dive. This time, we're diving headfirst into the world of learning Japanese.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, living in Japan.
Right.
We asked all of you listeners to send in some resources, and one of you actually shared a really practical guide that's full of essential Japanese
That's great.
tips.
Right.
So we're going to be looking at that guide, and we'll also, of course, talk about some of the broader cultural context that can just make life in Japan
Yeah.
so much more enriching.
That's a great point. I think even just a basic grasp of the language can really unlock so much about the culture.
Absolutely. So why don't we just jump right in? I see that the guide suggests starting with basic vocabulary.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense.
It really does. Think about simple greetings like Ohayo gozaimasu for good morning, or the very useful arigato for thank you. These phrases really lay the groundwork for respectful communication in Japan.
Right, and I bet those simple, polite interactions, they go a long way. Now, I have to admit, I'm always a little intimidated by grammar
I understand.
when it comes to learning a new language.
I get it. But this guide actually breaks it down in a really approachable way. For example, did you know that in Japanese sentences are structured with the subject first, then the object, and finally the verb?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's totally different than English.
It is different from English. So let's say you want to say, I eat sushi in Japanese.
Okay.
In English, the subject is I, the verb is eat, and the object is sushi. But in Japanese, you'd say, watashi wa sushi or tabemasu, which translates to I sushi eat.
Wow.
So
That's really interesting.
it takes a little getting used to, but once you grasp the pattern, it becomes quite logical.
Yeah, it's almost like you're solving a little linguistic puzzle there.
Exactly.
So vocabulary and grammar are super important. But what about actually speaking and understanding the language? Like in real life situations.
Right. Well, that's where the idea of immersion comes in. This guide recommends surrounding yourself with as much Japanese media as possible.
Okay.
Things like movies, dramas, music. It can really help you familiarize yourself with the sounds and rhythms of the language, even if you don't understand everything at first.
I love that because it kind of makes learning feel less like studying and more like enjoying, Japanese culture.
Right.
Now, I know you pulled out some specific scenarios and phrases from the guide that we can look at.
I did. Let's start with the workplace. Imagine you're in an office in Japan. You'll likely hear the phrase "otsukare-sama desu" pretty frequently.
I remember seeing that one. What's the meaning behind that one?
It's often translated as good work or thank you for your hard work,
Okay.
but it really goes beyond just a simple acknowledgement of effort. It reflects this deep emphasis on teamwork and collective effort that you find in Japanese work culture. Historically, many Japanese businesses operated with lifetime employment,
Oh, wow.
which fostered this very strong sense of community and shared responsibility.
So it's almost like you're acknowledging everyone's contribution to the team's success.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Japan really values harmony and group cohesion, so yeah. Now let's switch gears to a more casual setting, like shopping at a busy Japanese mall.
Yeah.
The guide highlights the phrase, "Shuchaku dekimasu ka," which means, can I try this on?
That's a good one to know. It's always good to have those polite phrases ready. But is there something more to it?
Yeah, in Japanese culture, politeness and respect are really paramount, especially when you're interacting with strangers or service staff.
I see.
Even something as simple as trying on clothes requires acknowledging the staff and seeking their permission.
Interesting.
It's a way of showing appreciation for their time and assistance.
So it's like even in that simple interaction, you're being really mindful and respectful of the other person.
Exactly.
What about navigating public transportation, which I imagine can be an adventure in a country like Japan?
Oh, it can be. The guide suggests using sumimasen kokobako desu ka, which means, excuse me, where is this? Now, the word sumimasen is really interesting because it's actually used for a variety of situations.
Oh, I've heard that one. I feel like it's like a multi-purpose phrase.
It is. It's a multi-purpose phrase. It can be used to apologize, express gratitude, or simply get someone's attention.
Wow.
It's a way of acknowledging the other person's presence and showing a sense of humility.
It's amazing how much is packed into just one word.
It is.
Speaking of, essential situations, what about if we need to visit a hospital in Japan?
Oh, of course. The guide recommends being prepared to say "Hokunsho wumatemasu," which translates to "I have an insurance card."
Okay.
Having your insurance information ready is crucial in any medical situation, especially when navigating a healthcare system
Yeah.
in a foreign country.
It sounds like just being prepared with these key phrases is essential for a smoother experience in Japan,
Absolutely.
whether we're at workout shopping or dealing with an unexpected situation.
Yeah, and it's not just about getting your point across.
Right.
It's about showing respect and understanding for the culture.
Okay, so we've covered some must-know phrases for navigating different scenarios. Now, I'm kind of curious to delve a little deeper into the cultural values that are reflected in the language itself.
Okay.
What can you tell us about that?
That's a great question. One of the most fascinating aspects of Japanese culture is this concept of uchisoto,
Okay.
which basically translates to inside outside.
Hmm.
And it really influences how people communicate and interact depending on their relationship with others.
So it's like having different ways of speaking depending on whether you're with close friends or strangers.
Exactly. With those in your uchi or inner circle, the language tends to be much more informal and casual.
Okay.
But with people in your soto or outer circle, politeness and formality become much more important.
That's really interesting. It reminds me a little bit of how some languages use formal and informal pronouns, like in Spanish,
Right.
but it seems like Uchisoto goes even beyond just grammar.
Oh, it definitely does. It's woven into the fabric of Japanese society.
Yeah.
It influences everything from bowing etiquette to gift-giving customs. It's about understanding your place within a social hierarchy and adjusting your communication style accordingly.
That's a really great insight. Now, thinking back to some of the phrases we discussed earlier,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they also reflect this idea of Uchisoto.
They certainly do. For example, otsukare-sama desu, which we mentioned as a common workplace phrase,
Yeah.
it conveys a sense of shared effort and camaraderie.
Right.
You wouldn't typically use it with someone you don't have a close working relationship with.
So it's like you're using a phrase that signifies that you're both on the same team,
Exactly.
working towards a common goal.
It builds a sense of unity and strengthens the bonds within the uchi of the workplace.
Now, what about sumimasen?
Yes,
I remember you mentioned it has multiple meanings depending on the context.
Right.
Is that also connected to Uchisoto?
it is. Sumimasen can express everything from a simple apology to a really deep sense of indebtedness.
Wow.
It all depends on your relationship with the person you're speaking to and the specific situation. With someone in your uchi, a casual sumimasen might suffice for a minor mishap. But with someone in your soto, a more formal and heartfelt apology might be necessary.
That's really nuanced. It seems like mastering the art of sumimasen is crucial for navigating social interactions in Japan.
It really is. It's about understanding these unspoken rules of etiquette and expressing yourself in a way that maintains harmony
Right.
and avoids causing offense.
It sounds like learning Japanese is as much about cultural sensitivity as it is about grammar and vocabulary.
You're absolutely right. Language is a window into a culture's soul.
I like that.
It reflects its values, its customs, its ways of thinking.
Yeah.
And the more we understand about those deeper layers, the more enriching our experiences become.
Speaking of enriching experiences, we talked about immersing oneself in Japanese media as a way to learn the language.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I think immersion is one of the most powerful tools in any language learner's arsenal.
Okay.
It's not just about memorizing words and grammar rules.
Right.
It's about absorbing the rhythm, the intonation, the nuances of how the language is actually spoken in real-life situations.
I imagine it's like training your ear to recognize patterns and pick up on these subtle cues,
Right.
almost like you're becoming fluent in a musical language.
That's a wonderful analogy. And the beauty of immersion is that it can really be tailored to your interests. Whether you're into anime, J-pop music, or historical dramas, there's just a world of Japanese media out there waiting to be explored.
Yeah, and I imagine that exposure to different genres and styles can also give you a richer understanding of the culture as a whole.
Absolutely.
It's not just about learning the language, it's about connecting with the stories, the art, the people behind it all.
It is. It's about opening your mind to different perspectives, ways of thinking, creative expressions.
I'm curious, what are some of the maybe unexpected benefits that you personally experience from learning Japanese and immersing yourself in the culture?
You know, one of the most surprising benefits has been this heightened awareness of my own culture and communication style. By stepping outside of my linguistic comfort zone, I've gained this fresh perspective on the unspoken rules and assumptions that shape how we interact in my own language.
Interesting.
It's been a journey of self-discovery as much as it's been about learning another language.
So it's like learning Japanese has given you a new lens through which to view your own culture
Yeah,
and your own communication habits.
precisely. It's made me more aware of these subtle ways in which language shapes our thoughts and perceptions,
Yeah.
even our relationships.
That's remarkable. It seems like the deeper we dive into this language, the more we discover not only about Japan, but also about ourselves and the world around us.
I couldn't agree more. And that's what makes language learning such a transformative and rewarding experience.
Mm.
It's a journey of exploration, discovery, and personal growth.
Okay, so we've talked about the practical aspects of learning Japanese,
Yes.
the cultural nuances that are kind of embedded in the language,
Mm-hmm.
and even the almost philosophical implications of stepping outside our linguistic comfort zones.
Right.
But I think it's important to remember that language learning isn't just about these intellectual pursuits.
Mhm.
It's also about having fun and connecting with other human beings on a deeper level.
Exactly. And those imperfect moments are often where the most genuine connections are forged.
Yeah,
It's about embracing the journey with all its challenges and triumphs,
right.
knowing that every step forward brings us closer to a richer understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
I love that. It's about seeing language learning not as a destination to be reached, but as this ongoing adventure full of unexpected discoveries and heartwarming encounters.
Beautifully put. And who knows, maybe along the way we'll even find ourselves inspired to delve into other languages and cultures, expanding our horizons even further.
Speaking of expanding horizons, I'm curious to know what advice you would give to our listener who is just starting their journey into the world of Japanese language and culture. What would be your top tips for making the most of this incredible experience?
I think one of the most important things is to just embrace that idea that it's a journey. You know, there will be times when you feel frustrated,
Right,
but it's important to celebrate those small victories along the way.
for sure. And I think finding resources that make the process enjoyable is also really key.
Absolutely. The guide you provided is a fantastic starting point.
Yeah.
You know, it has that practical approach to phrases and scenarios.
Yeah, building on that, I think setting realistic goals can be really helpful.
Oh, for sure.
Maybe it's mastering a handful of greetings in the first week or, being able to order your favorite food in Japanese.
Those are great examples. And don't underestimate the power of consistency.
Yeah,
Even dedicating just a short amount of time each day can make a huge difference over time.
absolutely. And I've heard that language learning apps can be really helpful for that,
Yeah.
because they make it easy to squeeze in some practice during your commute or just like downtime.
They can be incredibly useful. And as you progress, don't be afraid to seek out opportunities to practice with native speakers. You know, language exchange partners, online communities, or even joining a local Japanese conversation group
Right.
can be really invaluable.
It's like taking the training wheels off and actually like riding the bike on your own.
Exactly.
I imagine those real-world interactions can be a little nerve-wracking at first,
Oh, for sure.
but also super rewarding.
Absolutely. It's in those moments of vulnerability that the real learning happens.
Yeah.
And remember, even native speakers make mistakes, so
Right.
don't be afraid to embrace those imperfections along the way.
It's all part of the process. So thinking back to everything we've discussed today, from the essential phrases to these cultural insights and, even like the personal growth aspect of it, what do you hope our listener will take away from this deep dive?
You know, I hope they'll be inspired to view language learning as more than just a skill to acquire.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity to connect with another culture on a deeper level, to broaden their perspectives,
I love that.
and to embark on a journey of self-discovery,
It's like opening a door to a whole new world. It is.
of experiences and understanding.
And remember, even a basic understanding of Japanese can enrich your travels, enhance your appreciation for Japanese art and media,
For sure.
and create opportunities for meaningful connections with people from a different culture.
So well said. We've covered so much ground today.
We have.
From the practicalities of mastering those essential phrases
Yeah.
to the transformative power of language and cultural immersion. But as we wrap up this deep dive into learning Japanese, we want to leave you with one final thought.
Yes, as you continue exploring the Japanese language and culture, remember to embrace the journey
Yeah.
with curiosity, patience, and a sense of adventure.
Absolutely.
The rewards are truly immeasurable.
We are so excited for you to discover all the incredible experiences that await on this amazing journey. So keep those language fires burning, and until next time, happy learning.